Good morning, and welcome to an overcast and cloudy Sabi Sands Game Reserve this fine Saturday morning. My name is Brent Leo Smith. I have Batman, and guess what? Today is the day Batman got old. It is his 30th birthday. Batman, put your thumb up. Say thank you for all the birthday wishes before they come. Batman is a man of few words. He's not going to talk to you. I don't know why he's shy. Okay, let's carry on going. Remember, hashtag SafariLive if you have any questions for us on Twitter, or you can just pop your questions in the YouTube chat. Now, the Nkohumas were left hunting last night by Batman and myself. We don't know if they've been successful overnight, so we're going to go see if we can try find them again. And also scratch around the far east of Torchwood. Maybe Quarantine will pop up, or Tandi. So that's our plans for the morning. Now, there will be no Masai Mara this morning. Batman, everyone's wishing you happy birthday. He's smiling inside, not outside. But there's no Masai Mara this morning, but you will have Sydney, myself. Sydney's going to go check up on Hasana and on those carcasses he found to see if the owls are still bombarding him. And Jamie's going to be out on bushwalk. Ooh, brrr. Not as cold as it has been the last couple of mornings. The cloud cover has insulated a little bit of the heat from the day yesterday. So about 15 degrees Celsius, and I cannot for the life of me remember Fahrenheit, 70 odd I'd guess. And 69 or 59, 69 must be. Oh, 59, okay, so it's 59 Fahrenheit, not, thank you, Megan. Okay, now we're going to get down onto Gowrie Main. We should be the first game drive vehicle out in this part of the reserve and start heading south to see if we can find some tracks of the Nkohuma. Maverick says, can we find a robin for Batman today because it's his birthday? That we can definitely do, I'm pretty sure. In our search for lions, we might be able to find a white-browed scrub robin, if we're lucky. A white-browed robin chat, or maybe a white-throated robin. Okay, I'm going to concentrate on staring at the sand and looking for lion tracks. In the meantime, let's send you to Sydney to say hello.
A very, very good morning and welcome to the beginning of the morning safari. I am Sydney Mikosi and I'm traveling with Senzo, who is my camera operator this morning. My plan is looking for the little chief, Hosana, who I left here yesterday late afternoon for. In case if you need our attention, you can follow us on Twitter, hashtag SafariLive. You can also follow us on YouTube chat stream. So the weather here where I am is overcast at the moment. It's nice and cool. It's not that very cold. It's chilly a little bit, but this is fine. So we might be lucky with the cats this morning. This is a suitable weather for the cats. So here, yesterday, is where I saw Michelle, I hope so too. Those owls, I'm sure that is their territory. So let's go and see what is happening now. We might find them still. Yesterday, they were not happy with Osana at all. So it's quite a very big drainage. So this is quite a very big drainage. You can see where these things was happening, and yesterday he was deep in this drainage and he got disappeared there, and then we found him where the kill is. So I've just arrived now at the place. So this is where we left him yesterday. Oh, I can still see that the piece. So now let's go to Jamie on Bushwalk.
Good morning, and welcome to the On Foot segment of your Sunrise Safari. We're exploring the drainage lines that Hasana's been loving at the moment. Maybe we have a chance to help Sydney out in his search of beloved chief. Good morning to you. My name is Jamie, and this morning Dave is on camera with me. Standard bushwalk disclaimer. These are not white. Okay, they're a bit white now. They were white. Apparently this totally derails the entire conversation on all of the chat streams. So they're not white. Well, they are white, but they weren't originally. So it's okay. I know I'm walking with pretty pale pants in the bush, but it's okay. I promise you it won't detract from our walking experience. Remember, if you have any comments other than that of the colour of my trousers, you can send them through on #SafariLive on Twitter. Alternatively, you can send them through on the YouTube chat stream. So I'm speaking quite softly because it's quite important that we listen as we move through this area. We know that Tingana has a tendency to find his son and steal his kills, so there's always a possibility that he's here as well. Now, while the little chief is very comfortable with people on foot, Tingana, less so. He tends to run away almost immediately. He always comes back. But we try and avoid bumping him on foot if we can, because it just gives him a fright. Obviously, it disrupts the natural behavior, and that's something that we try and avoid doing at any one point in time. Now, this is the area where Hasana was being a little bit of a clown with Tingana's kill just a few days ago. As Sydney will have told you, he's since struck it lucky with 2 dead Nyala, and it's a symptom of the dry season, the fact that we're seeing so many dead animals, or browsers in particular. Something I'd like to talk about is one of those funny things for those budding tree enthusiasts. The difference between a baby tree and a grown-up tree, and it's very, very important. It's something that we've been emphasizing with our trainees, because there's certain trees that are protected by law and ecologically extremely important, particularly around areas like this where it's a drainage line. Now, this is a very good example. These are all tambuerties. Now, tambuerty tree, as you know, is a very toxic tree. It produces a milky latex. But when they're babies like this, their bark is completely smooth and sort of mottled in color. Almost looks like the bark of a young guarri bush. Now, there's a few differences. One is the way in which it grows. It's sort of almost spiny. The little branchlets almost look like thorns. But if we look at those, if we compare it to the adult tree, let me find a nice adult tree. Here's an adult. Here's a transitioning tambuerty. So when it reaches adulthood, or when it sort of reaches a certain size, what it does is it gets the scaly bark protection. That is so typical of tambuerty, sort of square-like patches of bark across it. And this one's in the middle of sort of changing from that smooth, pale bark to this crispy, rough bark, crocodile skin, as it's sometimes termed. I just heard something. Now, those being able to distinguish between guarri bushes, which are okay to drive over in certain places, and tambuerty trees, which are absolutely unequivocally not, is a very important skill out here, because you've got to be able to do it quickly. You're off-roading, you're following the animals, and you look at a tree, and you've got to choose which way to go. We absolutely, unequivocally have to avoid these trees. Because if we don't, we actually cause severe damage to the environment that we're driving on. And it's very common to see them in these thickets around a drainage line or a river system. They're trees that really enjoy water. Okay. We're going to carry on searching for all sorts of things to show you on walk, because that's the most enjoyable part of it. Sydney's arrived at the dead Nyala. Let's see if there's any spots around them.
So I can see that the one of the dead nyalas here has not been eaten too much, but how it's open, I can see that Hosanna came back here because that is how he opened the first nyala yesterday, and it looks like he did manage to get a hold of the baby inside of this one as well. So yesterday all he was doing was just eating the babies from the stomachs. So another one is still lying down here as well, not very far. You can see right there. He is not here at the moment. Yes, I did pick up an audio of the owls around here. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to drive around here and see if he is not hiding somewhere nearby. So I can hear some go away bird here. The grey lorries are also giving out their calls. So let's drive around here and see if we can find him somewhere hiding in this area. So he must be hiding somewhere here. So it's quite very high here where I am. So maybe we will be lucky with him somewhere around here. So I am thinking that this cat is somewhere around here. If not here, I will go and check the Galago pen. So maybe he's somewhere around there because that is the only nearest waterhole at the moment where he can go for drinking. Look at the sunrise. So this looks beautiful. You can see the reflection of the sky there. Look at that. So you can see that some of the trees, they're starting to bring back the leaves. So the tree right in front of the sun there is not just having the best sticks. Oh, the owls are calling. Let me follow the owls. Maybe they're going to show me where this cat is. So these owls are just calling from the other side of the drainage. Oh, yeah, there he is. He's there on top of the termite mound. I see there. Can you see him, Senzo? On top of that termite mound, I can see there he is. Oh, there he is, right on the other side of the drainage. So those owls, they are still vocalizing against him. So what I'm going to do now is to try by all means and get to the other side. Otherwise, we're not going to have a better sighting. So I can see that he's on a distance at the moment. So we might be lucky and see some interaction again between him and the owls. Yeah, this is quite a very wide, dry riverbed. So for me to cross, I must have to drive a little bit much further. So I just want to try and check if there is a space for me to go to the other side from here. So now let's go to Brent. He is trying to find something.
Hello, well, good thing our little chief is still around. I'm still checking the main road. The lion tracks went into Chitwa, but before we dive into Chitwa, I want to make sure that they haven't crossed back into Torchwood. Okay, there's a nice big game path. Hippos have been busy on it. Are there any lion tracks? No, just hippopotami. Well, I think this cloud cover is going to burn off today. I'm a bit grateful for it, as it has kept the warmth of yesterday in a little bit. James is wondering, are large browsers also vulnerable to the death from altered gut flora from eating too much tannins from what they browse? Less so. You just got to think how big they are, and a lot of the large browsers are capable of moving much bigger distances, so they can move between areas. For some reason, black rhino don't seem to be affected at all by it, which is very interesting, and elephants as well, and giraffe don't seem to be too affected by it. So the large browsers, really large browsers, which is basically black rhino, elephant and giraffe, are not really affected. I think it's probably a lot to do with their size and the size of their gut. They're probably able to deal with those tannins more efficiently than the smaller, more specialized browsers. And also, you must think about the large ones. They're able to, like giraffe, are able to get to the newest shoots that are coming out right up high, where there is the kudu, nyala and bushbuck are very much limited by their height to where they can browse. Well, it looks like the lions are still in Chitwa, but someone asked for a robin for Batman, and I'm trying to find one. I can hear one. There, I can see two southern black tits, but I can hear a white-browed scrub robin, but I can't see it. Now, of course, he's gone quiet. Okay, we'll have to look for another robin for Batman. Oh, no tracks yet. My brother did tell me there was a big herd of buffalo in Nkoro yesterday. I wonder if they've just gone straight east. So we'll go check the southern boundary of Chitwa, and then if nothing, we'll start working our way back towards the dam. Quite handy having my brother next door, because he lets me know if there's anything happening. Chris is wondering, are there any sable in the area? There haven't been sable seen up north for a while. I know there's a big herd on Mala Mala at the moment, just down to the south of us. Probably about 20 or 30 that are hanging around the Sand River. As soon as the rains start a bit more, those sable are going to move back into the dry country. Now, one of the reasons we don't see sable almost at all in the northern sections here is that there's too many pumped water holes. So it enables there to be too many large grazers and bulk grazers. And sable are very specialist feeders. 80% of their diet in South Africa is made up of one species of love grass, Eragrostis. So the bulk grazers decimate that particular species of grass around permanent water points, and sable are not near. And sable also like long grass; they don't like short grass. So no, we don't see. There's a chance. There was that sable bull that was around for a while until he got whacked by lions, if I remember correctly, on Nkoro. Okay, so no sign of the Nkomas coming out of Chitwa Chitwa on the northern front. So we're checking the eastern boundary now, and then we're going to head back towards the west, back towards the lodge and the dam, see if there's any luck there. Okay, while I do that, let's send you back to Sydney and Hosana.
So you can see that now Hosana is claiming the throne, the chieftaincy, right on top of the termite mound. He's trying to be the little chief in the area indeed now. So you can see he's looking at the owls at the moment, because I saw that he's looking at that side. The only thing threatening him at the moment is the owls. This is not normal. This cat, normally when there is food available, he's very protective, and you will see him by the food, and he takes the food up into a tree. There, they don't want him to use any of those trees around them. So those carcasses, they are now having a very strong smell. So they might also invite the animals such as the hyenas. I am very surprised why the hyenas didn't come here last night. Yeah, the hyenas didn't go there. So it is right in the middle of the drainage, and the wind is blowing much more towards the northern direction at the moment. Maybe they will find out about it, but the smell is getting very bad there. So they might start decomposing. So I can see now he's just leaning against the termite mound. So I am very much interested to see what is in this stomach. Look at that, you can see the blood there, not completely cleaned, and this is what is attracting the flies every time. That's why every time you can see the flies are coming, they are being attracted by the blood there. And because, look at that, you can see there's quite a lot of flies there. So those flies are attracted by the blood. And when these flies land on these animals, they can be able to taste the blood. The flies has got the taste buds on their legs, and they've got hairs that serve as a sense organ. When they step on something, immediately after landing, they can be able to feel if the taste is good or not. That what makes them to decide to eat or not to eat. So they don't rely on that probe in order to taste the food. The legs helps them. And they can be able to taste way much better than our tongue. Very general, can you repeat that question for me? I did copy that is about the venom and the snakes. So the venom, there's a big difference between the venom and poison. Venom can be injected. So it means it has got something to do with the injection. So the poison has to be ingested. So the venom, you can also eat it. And if your intestines doesn't have the holes, you are going to survive it. But if your intestine has got holes, after eating the venom, you are going to die. So venom, you can also eat it. And animals, they can eat an animal which has been taken down or which has been killed by the snake. That one is not a problem. So look at that. So you can see that he's right on top, but let's hope he's going to go down there. We want to see the action. So these leopards, from what I've seen by the kill, I saw that the little ones has been taken out from their stomachs. So when he's breathing like that, normally when there's too much in the stomach, you will see them breathing a lot. So they are trying to squeeze things in the stomach as they're breathing in order to get the space. How he's lying down now, you might find that he is trying to get everything settled in the stomach. So they breathe heavily because the stomach is having quite a lot at the moment. No much space in order to accommodate too much air. So you can see those flies I was talking about earlier that is too much and they're giving him problems there. So if he touched the blood from the inaccessible area by the tongue to clean, then it means the flies are just going to be with him all day long. Ramona, the owls, the only time I've seen the owls scavenging, it was about 3 years ago. 3 years ago, I was on one of the roads. It was the road in Limpopo. There was a breakout of the rats. So when the rats are killed on the road, that is when you will see the ants eating even rats that has been driven over by the vehicles. But when it comes to the big kills, I've never seen the owls scavenging there. So yes, owls, they do eat meat, but preferably they take down the rats. And sometimes they also catch some of the bears. So you can hear that there's quite a lot of other birds called. Those are the hornbills. The yellow-billed hornbills are also in the area here. So the little chief is very much relaxed. You can see that when the birds are calling, he's concentrating. The thing is, birds, they don't only inform us about the presence of these predators. Birds also informs these predators about the arrival of their competitors. That is why when the birds are making noise from far, they must have to listen and check what is happening and who is coming. Normally, is when the hyenas are coming or is when the other leopards are coming. The meat can also attract the lions as well. This leopard has got a big challenge at the moment. That those two nyalas, they are right in the middle of the drainage. And that drainage is very deep. There are trees around there. Yesterday, I saw that he was doing some assessment. He was checking where he can take the kill up to. And he saw that these owls are going to give him a problem high up. So in this area where we are, it's not safe for him at all to take up any of those nyalas into a tree because these owls, they don't want him here. So yesterday he ended up running. It was the first time seeing Hosanna running away from the birds. He just ran and left everything on the ground. It was very tough. So at the moment, it's difficult for him to eat on the ground, and it's also difficult for him to take away the food to the nearest tree. So now let's cross over to Brent and see how his lion search is doing.
Well, not very fruitful so far. Well, we have ruled out the northern boundary of Chitwa and the west or eastern boundary of Chitwa. So I'm now heading back towards where I saw the tracks crossing in. It's possible they might have caught something. Quite a lot of waterbuck were around yesterday, around Chitwa waterhole. So I'm just going to head towards one of my favorite road names in this part of the world, Shirombe Rombe. I wonder if anyone out there can guess what Shirombe Rombe means. Hashtag SafariLive if you think you know what Shirombe Rombe means. I think I've got you guys. I don't think anyone's going to know what Shirombe Rombe means. Okay, let's check carefully here. Ground's a bit harder. And of course, one thing about checking for tracks around Chitwa is that all the big game paths are frequently used by the hippopotamus, so it can make stuff a bit difficult. Sorry, I didn't get what Daniel said there, Megsy. Ah, twisty road. No, if it was a twisty road, it would be Jiga Jiga. So it is not twisty road. Linda says faster. It would not. It's not faster. Faster would be Shesha. Olivia says wild dogs. No, then it would be Mashoa. It's finding Tandi Tlaki and Cub. No, it's not that. It's definitely not that. And also it says happy hippos. Negative. It is not happy hippos. I don't think you guys are going to get this. I have told you in the past, though. Ashley says bumps and dips. Negative, Ashley, not bumps and dips. Okay, so those tracks came in around here. Let's see if they cross. They could be sleeping over here very easily. Romina says roaring. Negative, Romina. Okay, there we go. Here's some tracks. They're going back to the west along Shirombe Rombe Road. So nice, you say it twice. Amber says, does it mean? I didn't catch that. Sorry, Megs. Moaning? No, it doesn't mean moaning. Oh, mourning. No, it doesn't mean mourning. I'll show you what it means. It means that tree over there, Craig, the one that the wildebeest is about to walk behind. It means fig tree. Oh, sorry, I want to check. I forgot my. Oh, yeah, that's what that is. It means fig tree, and that is a wildebeest walking past a fig tree and a waterbuck, but no sign of the lions. There was one track heading west. Hello, Gnu. Looking for ladies. You missed mating season, but That was a while ago. We might start, if we get some big herds of wildebeest, we might start seeing the first babies around this time of the year. There we go. He's scent marking with his pre-orbital gland. I'm just listening carefully to see no alarm calls just yet. Now, male wildebeest will have their favourite spots where they scent mark like that. That's obviously one of his. Can you hear the hippos? All telling jokes about their evening escapades. Mr. Public says, I wonder if that wildebeest knows he's missing a party in the Mara and Serengeti. I think he is oblivious, and he's quite happy with when he can get 10 or 12 females. He doesn't need 200,000 or 300,000. Probably more sensible than the male wildebeest in the Mara that run around going meh, 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 doing, 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 and in a constant state of panic because they're just surrounded by females all the time. Okay, let's keep moving. So the lions might have grabbed something in these thick areas, but we're going to just keep checking for tracks. We had one track heading to the west. In the meantime, it sounds like Hosana is having a bath.
All the best to Brent, who is now looking for some lions. So now it's time for Hosana to clean himself. So he just wants to try and minimize the flies which are visiting him all the time. So he's trying now to get rid of the blood. But you can see that here on the side of the face as well, there is some blood, and that area is inaccessible. But maybe he's going to use his front leg in order to clean there. You can see is what he's doing at the moment. Charlotte, all the time now, Hosana is completely independent. Every time you will see him walking by himself. It's very rare to see Hosana mingling with Tingana, walking together to a certain point. They follow each other. Look at that. Now he's trying to come out. We're going to have a good sighting here. So every time you will see Hosana walking by himself, yes, he does interact with some other leopards, but walking, he is solitary. And hunting, he is solitary. So I think Hosana is growing very quickly. He looks big now. So every time I check his ears and the concentration, I see if there's anything coming. So maybe he doesn't want to go back to the Nyalas anymore. He might be thinking about having something of his own. So Hosana must show me the stomach. I want to see if the chances of doing hunting are there or not. Jonathan, the leopards can be able to hold about approximately 32 kilograms. So 32 kilograms is quite a lot. Think about 32 kilograms as well as the water they drink, because after eating they go, it's not like they are consuming 32 kilograms a day. They can make it sometimes less or more. These animals, when they are going for hunting, they hunt something which is, some of them are still young, some are sub-adults, some are adults, which means the weight always vary. So there is quite a big difference when it comes to the weight of their prey. So that is why if they take something today which is as big as an impala, they cannot eat until they finish today. So they will eat today and still carry on feeding tomorrow again on the same animal, because they don't have a big capacity to take everything in the stomach. Sometimes when the stomach is full, they must come down to the ground and lie down. When they're lying down is when they're trying to open the space in the stomach. Let's see there. Maybe someone is coming from that side, because I can see his look is not nice. So now where he is, it means the owls, they are comfortable with his presence when he's lying down here. But if he can just change now and move much closer, you will see they are going to be vocal again and come attack him. So they don't want him near those nyalas. So the bird which was calling now, I didn't take that call into consideration. But if he calls again, I will tell you. Yeah, I really want to see what he is concentrating on. So the thing is, we are right in front of him and he is now looking at the backside. From the termite mound, it's difficult for us to see the other side. So you can see that he's interested on something by that side. So let's hope it's a prey animal. So now let's go back to the bushwalk at the moment.
We're back, we're up and running, and I do sincerely apologize for our disappearance off your screen. We had a slight technical glitch, but we have discovered something heartening and wonderful after the deaths of those Nyala and all sorts of other things. Look, after the rains, the green is coming. So all through, as we've walked back towards camp and then back out again, I've been looking at the fresh, new clumps of grass. Now just think about what these animals have been trying to subsist on in the past few weeks. I mean, I'm going to call it weeks because there was a bit of greenery still up until the last month or so. And you can really understand how it is that they're struggling. Now, we're not seeing that many leaves on the trees yet, but we are starting to see these fresh green shoots. And even the Nyala, who are largely browsers, will be looking for these. Isn't that awesome? It's coming. Summer's coming. And what's quite good is that it's not like it was in 2015, which was a time of year where I think it didn't even start raining until December. And even when it did rain in December, there was hardly any water. The other night we had about 10 mils or so, which was fantastic. And now we've also got to the point, because remember, it's not just dependent upon the amount of rain that's received. It also is determined by the day length. So this is the perfect time for the green to start coming out. What that means is the impala babies are on their way. The woodland kingfisher should soon return. I'm starting to see European bee-eaters. We've seen the cuckoos. The cuckoos are back. The cuckoos are calling. Heard a Jacobin cuckoo yesterday above camp. So there's plenty for them to eat now. Or plenty, perhaps. Plenty is all relative. There's plenty compared to what they had to subsist on over the past month or so. So exciting times in the bushveld of South Africa. It means that the rain is going to refresh us all. This is my favorite spot. Look at the landmines. It's just buffalo dung everywhere. It's almost impossible to walk without stepping in a pile of buffalo splat. Now, chitty chatty Meg, on the arrival of summer, you want to know if that means that the ticks get worse? It does. It does indeed. Most of them have been largely dormant, and the tiny little ticks, the pepper ticks, the tick larvae, will be coming out now. Ugh. Now, pepper ticks are, for those of you that don't know, I think most of you have heard us complain about them enough, but for those of you that are new to these live safaris and have only started watching in the dry season, pepper ticks are roughly the size of a pinhead. They look like little freckles, and they, once you're on walk, what they do is they cluster around your ankles, hence these gaiters. They're not just a fashion statement, and boy do they look cool. They also keep the seeds out of your socks, but they also keep pepper ticks from crawling up the seam of your sock and onto your skin. And then what they like to do is embed themselves in the flesh between your toes, around your ankles, behind your knees, your armpits, other places. They like it nice and warm. It's very unpleasant because they're the size of a pinhead, which means that you don't always find them straight away. So the ticks, you get one bigger ticks that find their way onto your clothing. Most of the time those are easy to spot. You can get rid of those pretty quickly. But occasionally if you go to sleep and one's crawled into your bed or something like that, I woke up once with one on my eyelid. I woke up with one big tick attached and engorged between my fingers, and it did not want to be removed. And there's all sorts of methods. You can drown them in oil, you can drown them in Vaseline, some petroleum jelly. You just stick a large blob on it, or you can just pull them off and deal with the head. Because out here we don't have to worry about Lyme disease. It's not a concern. You can get tick bite fever, rickettsia, and it's like a bad flu. It's unpleasant, and obviously for kids and for people whose immune systems are compromised, it can be dangerous and they do need medical attention. But you can actually get better without antibiotics, or if you're not up to it, you can just take a quick course of doxycycline and you're sorted. I haven't had tick bite fever in years and years. I can't actually remember. I think the last time I had tick bite fever was when I was a kid. Brent, on the other hand, has had it 3 times since 2015. Alrighty, quickly over to Sydney. The scavengers have found the Nyala.
So now I can see that Hosana was looking at the hyenas who has just arrived at the moment here where we are. So we might see some interactions here, but the owls are not coming for the hyenas at the moment. So these owls, they are not worried about the hyenas eating, but they don't want a Hosana to eat. So I can see that the hyena is trying to drag the carcass now. I'm sure the hyena only now knows about just one carcass. So, but later on, he might discover another carcass. Hosana is just here, not far. He's on top of the drainage line, looking at these hyenas feeding at the moment. So this is what was attracting Hosana when he was on top of the termite mound, when I said he's now concentrating on something. This was the hyena coming. So far I'm only seeing just one hyena. Yeah, now it's going to be difficult for him to come and have more because the hyenas, they won't give him a chance. I can see that he is interested to go down and eat, but it's difficult now with the hyena. You can see he's right here. He's looking at that hyena at the moment. And the hyena is also feeding very fast. Look at that now. Let's see what he's thinking. Maybe he might also have some interest and go down there. He is now slowly going down. I can see that he is looking at that hyena. Maybe he's got a pathway which is going down to where this carcass is. Yeah, he's taking it serious now. So you can see the hyena is also feeding very fast. So this hyena knows that the predator is somewhere around here who was feeding. I'm sure the hyena can be able to pick up the scent of Hosanna around the carcass. So I can see that Hosanna is on his way down now. So this hyena is feeding and listening at the same time. See, Joe, the big cats, they don't have to eat meat every day. So the big cats, they catch something and it takes few days before they eat again. But if there is a chance for them to eat every day, they can. But normally, I can see that now Hosanna has just landed in the drainage and he is now trying to come towards the hyena. You can see there he is coming. He have not yet shown any sign of aggression. He is still checking the hyena. Maybe now he's trying to calculate the approach direction. He might now try to charge the hyena to get the meat. He's jealous now of the hyena eating. And he must also be worried about the owls, which has just been chasing him, but not worried about the hyena at the moment. So the bird we just heard now is not an owl. That one is the grey lorry. And then the grey lorry is making Hosanna to go back. He's changing the approach direction now. He's looking at the hyena at the moment. He's got all the interest to go to the hyena. I can see him. He's now slowly coming. There's no sign at the moment, ne? No sign, ne? No sign of anything there. There is no sign at the moment. So now I can see that Hosanna is just looking at the hyena, enjoying watching the hyena feeding. And this hyena is eating that nyala very quickly. So if any of these hyenas comes here, two more, there is going to be a challenge. They might finish these right now. So chances of Hosanna to get more meat here, they are now getting slim. And the hyena is looking at he's checking where Hosanna is at the moment. So the hyenas has got a very strong muscle jaw. So these animals have got the carnassials which can be able to pulverize the bones of these animals. So the nyala is nothing. Hyenas deal with the bones of the big animals such as the wildebeest and also the buffalo. You can hear them crushing the bones there. So while I'm waiting to see if more hyenas will come here, let's go back to the bushwalk.
Right, speaking of bone crushing and calcium, we have a beetle, or bug. Now, how is that connected to what we've been talking about? Not bug, sorry, beetle. Well, it is a carrion beetle, or carcass beetle that have gathered together on a pile of lion scat. But never mind, let's go across and see what happens with Hosanna.
side. So I've got now Hosana trying to approach us. The distance between Hosana and the hyena is just about less than 5 meters. So I'm just going to wait. A very good morning and welcome to the special broadcast. I am right here having the two predators. One of them is very popular of scavenging, the hyena and the leopard by the name of Hosana, popular as the little chief here by the western side of the Greater Kruger National Park, Juma Game Reserve. I am Sydney Niconico, and I am here right now with Senzo having this kind of a spectacular sighting. An action can happen at any time. I can see that the leopard is just less than 5 meters away from the scavenger, who is in this case the hyena at the moment. So this hyena is trying by all means and get all the meat as fast as possible. So the predator is just watching him at a distance of about just 5 meters. So I can see that this leopard is not happy with the hyena feeding there. So this hyena is so powerful. So there's quite a lot of birds giving some calls at the moment. I'm not too sure if there is any other predator approaching the area. The birds, they do give us quite a lot of information about the coming predator when there is a kill. So here where we are, something very interesting just happened last night. The leopard, who is right here now at the moment, was chased by the owls last night trying to have a meal here. So these owls, I'm not seeing them this morning because it was right at the same spot where the owls were so very much protective last night. So I can see now that the leopard is trying to go back now. He is going back. He's now leaving the hyena in peace. So he's not interested to charge the hyena. Tina, at the moment I am only just seeing one hyena, and this leopard is now trying to change the approach direction. So I just want to see what he's thinking because he's trying to go around. At the moment there is 2 dead animals where we are. Maybe the leopard is trying to access another carcass which is just about less than 10 meters away from where the hyena is eating. So there's 2. So it's quite very difficult to tell. Why? Because of the following. The hyenas, normally they do win these battles. When the hyenas are too hungry, their level of aggression goes very high. And that is when they are strong enough to challenge these big predators. Sometimes the predators, the leopards, they win. Sometimes the hyena. It's 50-50. So I can see now that the leopard managed to climb the top of the drainage, which is the dry riverbed, and he might be now going to the other side where the another kill is. If he comes down there, it means he is going to be feeding on the other kill. And that is also going to jeopardize the chances of having that kill, because if the hyenas finds out about the next dead animal, which is just less than 10 meters away from this one, he is going to also eat there. So you can hear that this hyena is very much strong. All he's doing is crashing the bones, and for his safety, he is checking the surrounding. So he's still looking at that leopard, but he can't see it now, and he's not worried about where the leopard is going. He's just worried about food. So the leopard we saw just now was so lucky because the animal which is now eaten by the hyena was pregnant, and this leopard managed yesterday to open the stomach and eat just the baby. And also the second kill, he did the same. He opened and just ate the baby. So the baby, the bones and the meat is not that very hard, which means this animal is going to quickly digest what he ate last night. So there is no much competition going on at the moment, and this brings us to the end of our very special broadcast. And thank you very, very much for all your questions and comments. So now let's go to Jamie on a bushwalk and see some beetles.
Lots and lots and lots of beetles. Beetles that, I mean, by and large, as safari guides, we're quite pragmatic about certain things. We'll touch impala dung, no problem. Rhino dung, no problem. Elephant dung. Bones, fine, perfect. We'll pick them up and examine them. But these beetles, we are not going to go anywhere near. And in fact, if you want to see someone fly out of their seat, just watch them when the light's attracted a carrion beetle and watch how they squirm and run away. And that's because, of course, they are largely, they're designed to break down piles of scat just like this. And this pile of old lion scat has got probably close on 15 or so beetles, and I suspect double that number underneath the surface of the soil. These ones might just be a little bit late to the party, but I can see the ground moving around the lion scat, which suggests that they have all found themselves a friend, whether male or female, and they've gone below the surface of the soil to lay their eggs. Look, those two are busy creating new ones. Now, Robbie, the carrion beetles that we're looking at are kind of the equivalent of predator scat dung beetles. So there's no dung beetles here because most species, and there are lots and lots of species of dung beetle, most species are inclined towards herbivore dung. That's what they utilize, that's what they specialize in. There are certain dung beetles that are designed to be able to break down predator scat. There aren't any here. There's one in particular that is a sort of a bright red color, shiny metallic red, that is designed for breaking down predator scat. But there aren't any here. There's just the carrion beetles. And I mentioned that the two were busy making more carrion beetles. It's actually fascinating to watch them. And it's got me wondering whether or not the males have a slightly differently designed underside than the females, because they've actually got a grip on to the back of the female. We watched a truly tragic scene unfold where quite a small male had found himself a large lady, and he was well and truly sort of attached to her back, but then she went up the steep side of a pile of scat, and he fell off and lay on his back, waving his legs in a sort of a futile gesture of surrender. It was very tragic. I felt very, very sorry for him. He'd obviously worked hard to attract her attention, or at least managed to climb up onto her back, and he just didn't manage to hold on. Now, Lara Moore would like to know what the sort of the purpose of this hard shell is on the backs of the beetles. I think it's just an armored exoskeleton, especially if something walks past and steps on this pile of dung. It'll help to keep their bodies intact. I reckon that even while they're underground, I reckon they could sustain quite a bit of pressure on their backs. Also makes them look thoroughly unappetizing. There's not much meat to them, so for any bird that might decide that they would make a good meal, they probably wouldn't. Even for dwarf mongoose, for example, they seem to be more crunchy exoskeleton than anything else. Last time I did a segment on one of these, which was not that long ago, one of our viewers compared them to avocados. Forever ruining avocados, in my mind. Overripe ones, perhaps. It's a bit of a challenge. Now, just a quick point, because some of you might be looking at a pile of white scat and going, but surely this is hyena because of its colour. Now, remember that lions and leopards do eat bones as well. They're not as good at digesting them as hyenas are, but especially at this point when a lot of the animals that they're catching and eating have or were pregnant, it means that they're getting quite a high calcium level in their diet. So that's why this pile of scat has gone this pale white colour. It's because they've been eating bones. If it were hyena scat, you wouldn't see the amount of hair that you can see in this pile. Now, we will touch almost anything out here, but I absolutely refuse to touch this pile of scat. But I'm pretty certain that if we were to lift up each and every single one of these piles, what else would you call them? Bits of lion scat, you'd find at least 3 or 4 beetles underneath them. That one, look at it go. Oh dear. Oh no. Tragedy. Fortunately well designed for those sorts of errors. Oh, straight back into the fray. Come on, you can do it. You gotta go find yourself a friend. Or maybe she's just interested in munching away at this. So, of course, what they're doing is both feeding as well as collecting food for their offspring. I was wondering if... Well, I think that just destroyed my theory. I was wondering whether or not the females are actually bigger than the males. Oh, no. It's moved on. I thought it was going to climb on the back of that little one, but it hasn't. I just felt as though all of the couples that I've been observing while we've been sitting here, it's always looked as though the bigger one is on the bottom. Are you on the one that's fallen over? The one's just fallen over, but it's still clinging onto a pile of scat. Wait, I'll move the scat for you. There, this dude. Ah, disaster. I'm not letting go of my food, though. Help. Help. Oh, no. You gotta sacrifice it, buddy. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. There'll be more where that came from. That's it. Cast it aside. Now what? You've just given up. No, we're still fighting. Still fighting. There we go. We've got one off. You can do it. You can do it. Oh, it looks like it's missing one portion of its leg. Its bottom leg. It doesn't look as though it's working terribly well. Oh, no. Nexa says that he's doing some leg work. So is Darby back here, crouched down trying to film. Oh, no. I think he's given up. I know that feeling after doing leg work. you just lie on your back and recover. Are we done? That was quite tragic. It's just stopped moving. Zephyr says, oh, now I've got to flip him over. Oh, he's still going. I know. I feel sorry for him. I mean, this is the definition of melodramatic, though. All he did was fall off some dung. I'm sure you can get up. No? Yeah, he's definitely missing one part of his leg. It was from either Kristen or Tristan, was one of the two. He's definitely Kristen. Definitely missing that lower leg. His lower right leg is not working. It's missing a segment. Oh, buddy. Come on. You could do it. No, you're not going to do it on your own. Alrighty. Come on then. I'm not touching you. Oh, now we're playing dead. There you go. There you go. You've been salvaged. My one tiny piece of merciful interference for the day. Now don't die on me. It lives! Look, it lives! It's moving. Very slowly. Let's go across to Brent, who is searching for slightly fresher piles of lion scat.
Hello. Yes, so we found some tracks crossing under one of those big hippo paths to the north into Torchwood, so we're having a quick squiz around here. I'm going to check cheetah cut line to make sure they haven't cut back to the west into Juma. Just, sorry, 1 second. Oh. Now we're just checking very carefully here for tracks. There's some big animal paths that come across here, so far though, I think they might have headed towards Torchwood Camp. We're going to head there, but we're going to rule out if they've crossed into Juma first. As far as I know, Sydney is the only person in that sighting, and there is some meat left, and the hyena are feeding there as well, with Hosanna watching. Sorry about that. Sydney's radio isn't working very well, so I try to help out and relay. Unfortunately, yes, Wendy's main game drive radio decided it was tired of life and just froze. So it's gone to the radio doctor. What I saw a lion track there. Williams asking, how often do we run into snakes and what kind? Not as often as you would think, William. Most snakes are absolutely petrified of us, and especially if we're driving in a vehicle, they'll pick up the vibrations and disappear. I did, after the rain the other night on our way home, Senzo and I found a little brown house snake, very, very pretty snake. But I'd probably say the most common snake we see is a black mamba. It's because they're so big, and especially now as it starts warming up and the rains are out, they love eating frogs. What other snakes do we see? Puff adders, spitting cobras. Oh, we've had lots of different types of snakes. Where Jamie, myself, and Seb, and Tristan and Ali live at Inga's, I think we've recorded 17 different types of snakes in our house. But we don't come... variegated bush snake, or used to be called spotted bush snake, is another quite common one we come across. But not too often. So one of the things at this time of the year, when the snakes are starting to get a lot more mobile after estivation for the winter months, you've got to be very careful around human habitation, because humans are messy creatures, and we drop little bits of crumbs and stuff like that, which attracts rodents, which obviously attracts snakes. It's one of their favorite foods. And another big mistake that a lot of people make when they come live in the bushveld is they think they need to have a bright green garden and a sprinkler system. And if you have a sprinkler system, you get frogs. And the Mozambique spitting cobra's favorite food? Frogs. So you can get them around your house quite frequently. And also rodents, so it's one of the ones you got to be careful. That's why if you find a snake in your house or in the broom closet and you're not too sure, immediately pop a pair of glasses on in case it is a spitting cobra when you're trying to catch it and remove it. And after the rain, when we get heavy rain, is actually a really good time for snakes, particularly at night. They're after frogs. And also some of your blind snakes and burrowing snakes are pushed out of their burrows by all the rain. So it's always a great time to look for impala. Snakes. I'm very fond of snakes, actually. Now, one of the more dangerous snakes when it comes to human beings, and it's mostly because there's a lot of self-professed experts out there, and there's a very cute little snake called a mole snake, which is completely harmless, but it's got a distant cousin. It's one of the burrowing snakes. Snakes. Oopsie. Snakes. It's one of the burrowing snakes that looks very similar, and a lot of people end up picking up a little mole snake, which is completely harmless. You can see that's what a mole snake looks like. Let's find another picture. There's lots of different color variations, and you can see that nose that's made for burrowing. There's another pretty version of a mole snake. They mostly feed off slugs and things like that underground. But as I said, most people make the big mistake, and what they do is they think they've found a mole snake, and what they have actually found, it depends who you are, which is the one we get here. We can get, no, not that one. We do, what's it? Is it bibrons? Is it bibrons we get here, or is it bibrons I'm remembering from? No, bibrons is a blind snake. There we go. Yes, it is southern or bibrons stiletto snake. So you see, quite similar looking to the mole snake, and also comes in quite a few different color variations. Now I'm hoping that these guys have been, there we go. That's exactly what I was looking for. It's called a stiletto snake, or a burrowing asp. You can see that burrowing nose shape, but you can see there's a fang sticking out the side of its mouth. So even if you catch, Craig, what have we got that we can pretend is a snake? We can pretend the radio is a snake. So even if you catch a spitting cobra or a mamba and you get a good grip behind the head like this, you're generally completely safe. That's it. If you know what you're doing. Please don't go pick up snakes, everyone there, unless you really know what you're doing. People who pick up snakes get bitten by snakes, and 90% of snake bites are people who are playing with snakes. Let me just clarify that quickly. So what happens is people think they've found a harmless, cute little mole snake, and they pick it up and they hold it like they would any other snake, so it can't bite them. But the stiletto snake's fangs actually come out almost at 90 degrees from the side, and they can just turn their head slightly, and a little scratch from a stiletto snake will cause necrosis. And you will see some very clever safari guides, well, they were clever in their younger years, with fingers. I can't do that. My fingers have been broken too many times, but they've got fingers that look like that because they picked up a stiletto snake. Now it can actually cause really bad damage and nerve damage. But it causes necrosis. Basically, the flesh will just start to rot, and your finger can fall off. And there are lots of young safari guides who make the mistake between a stiletto snake and a mole snake. So unless you are really sure about what snake species is, and you know how to handle snakes, the best thing is look at the snake from a distance, let it be, or use a snake stick to catch it if you're not sure. Anyway, let's go to Jamie, who's got a place that snakes might like to estivate in.
I'm hoping there's no stiletto snakes hiding in this termite mound, but if there were, I certainly wouldn't be grabbing one behind the head, because there's nothing like a side swipe from a side-fanged snake. All right, moving rapidly on. Hopefully there are no snakes. I haven't seen any. This is really, really cool. This is a fully formed termite mound that has since died, and the outside layer that we're so accustomed to seeing has either weathered away or eroded away, and during a process that must have taken years in order to do so. But it's given us the most intricate view of the tunnels that are within a termite mound. So I know there's all sorts of experiments where they pour cement down termite mound holes, and then they break up the termite mound and they're left with a structure behind. But short of doing that, which I have no desire to do, because I feel sorry for the termite colonies within, this is our next best way of viewing the beautiful design of a termite mound. Now, we all know, well, most of us know, that this is just the tip of the iceberg, so to speak, and that most of what's happening within a termite colony like this is going on underground. This is the chimney. It's a system of vents that allows the termites to open and close tunnels to keep the temperature of the inside of the termite colony's home at a constant temperature, just over 30 degrees. That, of course, is the ideal temperature for their fungus farming. All very interesting and all very typical of the sorts of things that we tell you about termite mounds. But this is just such a cool view, especially here. Dave can show you this. This is one of the massive, this is what it was, one of the massive vents. And you can actually see the groove from where it went up all the way and outwards. Now, this took our termites decades to build. Well, years, I would say years, rather than decades, but it might have been added onto throughout the decades because, of course, a termite colony's queen can live for 30 to 40 years. During that time, all of her little workers are gathered around her, and they are acting together to build something that is a true marvel of nature's construction. It's fascinating the way that they work. I'm just chatting about it with Trishala, who is standing very, very meekly at the back there. There she is. Talking about the fact that termites are superorganisms, where they are all, you can't really consider the individual, except perhaps the queen. I still feel as though the queen is an individual in her own right, but that entire colony is not made up of individuals, or it's created an organism that functions on its own. Does that make sense? I know what I'm trying to say. You know what I'm trying to say. You get me. It's fascinating the way in which that works. Apparently, I've only just read this, but I found it fascinating. Equal numbers of males and females, but the females, whether they're workers or soldiers, are diploid, and the males are haploid. So, in other words, males come from unfertilized eggs, or at least they come with one set of chromosomes, one set of a half. Diploid comes with two sets of the same chromosomes. They don't have to be identical, but, for example, you've got your number 1 chromosome, and that's duplicated, and your number 6 chromosome, and that's duplicated. So the females are diploid, the males are haploid. It's just fascinating the way in which they're structured. And once the queen lays her eggs, and she continues to lay eggs throughout her life, we were talking about numbers banding about a number of around about 250,000. Is that what you said you read? 250,000 eggs in her lifetime. That's a lot of eggs. There's a lot of eggs. No wonder she has such a busy life. Now, the amazing thing about the queen and the king is that they come from just the tiniest little alates. It's that time of year again where we're going to start to see flying ants coming out. Now, flying ants are the only members, apart from the king and queen, that are capable of reproducing. They come out in spring, which it is now, after rain, which is happening, and they come out with wings and the ability to reproduce, very importantly. And they come out and the female finds a male or the male finds a female, and most of them, the vast majority, get eaten. But one pair find themselves alone together, dig themselves down into a hole, or if they're really lucky, a ready-made termite mound, and off they go producing their new colony. And that colony will survive for about 90 years or so, and then it dies naturally. Because it's a superorganism, it dies, the entire colony dies. It ages and it dies. Once the queen is dead and once her offspring have taken over for one generation, that's it. End of colony. And then the next one comes along. I've got snakes on the brain. Made me nervous. I just saw something in the hole. We're going to send you across to Hasana, who's at least managing to eat something this morning.
I am having the lovely Hosanna there now. Fortunately, Hosanna had something which was hidden on top of one of the trees here nearby. I can see it's a small piece from the baby nyala, which was taken out yesterday from the stomach. So I can see the stripes, and he's trying to feed on that. So you can see there's some stripes there. So these animals, they are born with those stripes, the nyalas. So those are part of what is called the disruption markings. So when these animals are born already, they are equipped with the stripes for the anti-predatory strategies. So those stripes, they break the body shape of an animal. So it means after birth, it's not easy to recognize the baby nyala. So he's now trying by all means to get everything from the stomach of that little one. But I don't think there is much there because the little one was still in the body of the mother. Normally, this kind of cats, they kill an animal and they follow the intestines and they absorb, especially if it was a ruminant, then they are going to absorb the stomach juice. So the ruminants are those animals which has got a complex stomach. These animals, they go out for feeding purposes. And when it's hot, they go and find some shade and chew some cud, which is a process called rumination. It's also called a reverse peristalsis. When they're doing that, it's when they are safe from the predators. Because if they just keep feeding all day long, predators can easily get them. But when they see that here there's danger, they can find a space and hide there. So this process of rumination takes place in one of the chambers. So there's quite a lot of stomach juices in there in order to facilitate the process. And they like to drink that juice a lot. So the hyena is also busy feeding there on the other side. I can hear him crushing the bones. So not much competition is taking place here at the moment. He is having his own little one and the hyena is feeding on the full carcass. But there's no much left. That's why now he's starting to look if the hyena is still there. Because now I can see that it's only left with a small piece. He is looking at the hyena and the hyena is full now. I can see he's going out from the drainage. So I'm just going to quickly reverse here so that you can see what the hyena is doing. The hyena is now going out having a piece of meat. So these animals, they eat the carrions. The carrions are those rotten meat, and they don't get these diseases because their stomachs are so adapted to feed on those kind of dead animals. But animals, they do share diseases sometimes. When they are feeding from the same carcass, some of these contagious diseases can easily be transmitted. So you can see that this hyena ate, and now is the time for him to think about others. He's taking the bone now maybe to the nearest den. But when looking at his stomach now, I can see that he ate a lot. So now we are going to go back to Hosanna and see him feeding and see if maybe he's going to go down and eat again. I saw that hyena, he did not see the other dead nyala. So he only saw one. So Hosanna still have got a chance to go down and feed on the other nyala. So I don't think he's going to spend much time here. So I can see it's not easy. So it looks like the body of that small one is slimy. You know, these animals, when they give birth, they've got to lick their little ones in order to get rid of the placenta. So I can see that sometimes here he's battling in order to get all this piece of meat into their mouth. So he's crunching the bones. So this is telling you that these animals, when they are born, the babies already, their bones are a little bit much stronger. That's why the bones of these animals in the wild, they are strong, because these animals, they give birth, and their little ones, they stand up a few minutes after that, and they must be able to run and avoid danger. So that's why that animal there is still very small. We are talking about an animal which was already, a baby which was already in the stomach and ready to come out at any time from now. So this is telling you that the bones are strong, because when they're giving birth, they only wait a few minutes and they can be able to run. So that is the last part of the meat from this baby. So now let's go to Jamie on a bushwalk.
Spot it if you can in between the dried out grass stalks, and look and marvel at the camouflage of certain creatures out here. Spotted by Trishala, who has an eye for the tiny things, which I really appreciate. She's always wandering around camp pointing out cool little creatures that she's found on her travels, if she's not collecting rocks. So we have a budding ecologist there. She's grinning at me. Oh, I've lost it. Oh, I took my eyes off it. Oh, no, there it is. We have a tiny, tiny mantid. And by tiny, I don't necessarily mean short. I mean thin and grass-like. And it is such perfect camouflage. Now, the extraordinary thing is that a bird could still spot that, especially when it moves, obviously. And we're okay now because it's moving, but we're guarding it. There's no bird that's going to swoop in and grab it, thanks to our disturbance, because we're around it. As soon as we move, it's going to go still once again. Isn't this little thing incredible? Isn't nature just marvelous? That all those cells have designed themselves in a way that there is a creature that looks like a blade of grass, and there are other creatures that look like sticks, and there are mantids that look like flowers, exactly like Waltheria flowers. Isn't that phenomenal? And at this time of year, this camouflage is just the perfect thing. He's got his front legs all boxed up. Oh, look at him go! At top speed of, I don't know, probably around about 2 kilometers an hour. Now, Yvonne would like to know, now Yvonne is in FC, she is one of our tech geniuses, she would like to know if the mantid will then turn green as the grass changes. No, this particular species will stay looking like a blade of brown grass, and there will be enough brown grass around to continue to hide it. It might be less effective if it goes onto a patch of green grass. Oh, okay, I'm going to do my best. Don't panic. Nobody panic. Don't panic. Okay, all right. No, don't get off the... Oh, I was going to try and lift it up to the camera, but I think that this little thing is not going to allow it. It's all right. It's all right. We mean you no harm, I promise. Isn't that amazing? There's other insects that do look like sticks as well. They're also well named. They're called stick insects. But they're a lot less mobile than this mantid would be. So, you've lost him. He's here, yeah. Oh no, I made him move, my bad. I was trying to make life easier for Dave, who is shuffling around the grass, trying desperately to keep a view. Mantids, of course, famous for their mating behavior. It is poor luck to be a male mantid, because as you know, for most species, the females will turn around and eat the head of the male while he's mating with her. And such is the way that insect nervous systems are designed. Ooh, looks so sinister there. Such is the way that nervous systems are designed within insects that even though she's eaten his head, he will continue to mate with her, which is, I suppose, a potential metaphor somewhere down the line. You know, toxic relationships and all that. So he will continue to mate with her. Basically, with insects, although they have a centralized nervous system in their heads, with the largest nervous structure being around their eyes and the front of their face, that makes sense. That's where most of their sensory nerves are, so that they can see and so that they can bite and chew things and feel. They do have clumps of nerves that travel all the way down the segments of their bodies. So that is how a male mantid is able to continue mating, even though he is technically essentially dead. His head is gone. MK really appreciates the fact that it's got such alien eyes. It does, doesn't it? There is something extraterrestrial about it. We tend to think of insects as basic. We do the same thing with reptiles. There's something about our human perception of things. Unless you're a scientist or a biologist, you sort of think of, I find, people tend to think of reptiles and insects as these basic life forms, when in fact they are just as complex as a mammal. They just have their complexity comes in different ways. They don't really learn in the way that we know. There's sort of pre-programmed instincts. So, for example, I think I told the story of the wasps that have their larvae at different stages, so they can have multiple offspring in different burrows with spiders there to keep them fed, and some species of wasps do actually provision their offspring. They've got several different tunnels, and there's something else I want to show you, so I'm not going to move I will move in a moment. But they basically provision their offspring, but their offspring are at different developmental stages, so they know that this one needs this amount of food and this one needs that amount of food. And they will remember that, and they'll go to each one in an order, a very specific order. But if you switch the larvae around so that one is in a different burrow to the other one, the wasp will continue to follow that same pattern, even though she doesn't realize or notice that the larvae have been swapped around and that they actually need more food or less food than she's provisioning. Does that make sense? So she's got a set order. She does not deviate from that. This is what I wanted to show you. Little details. This is what bushwalk is really all about. I haven't walked far at all. As soon as you stop and you look, you find all sorts of things. Talking about alates coming out, we're seeing a lot of these little towers made of dirt. Little chimneys. Now this one doesn't have a hole that oh no, it does have a hole there. It's been broken. But this little chimney is an indication that life is once again on the move. And the alates are starting to come out, and they get these little tunnels built for them so that they can pop out or in safety. Well, safety is all relative when you're an alate. When you're a flying termite, pretty much everything wants to eat you. Leopards, hyenas, birds of every description. Very cool. Little chimney. Right, now, let's play a game. Where did the mantid go? I haven't a clue. It's gone. It's gone forever, and our chances of finding it are next to nothing. Fortunately, Sydney's chances of finding Hasana are slightly better than ours.
I have got him here. Is right deep in the drainage at the moment. I can see that he dragged the second kill. He's not worried about the first kill at the moment. So he's just now here by the drainage. It's difficult to see him well from where I am, but we can see him. So this drainage is coming. So you can see that now he's coming up. Let's see his next intention is at the moment. So he climbed very fast. Maybe he picked up the information about the other competitors coming here. So don't get surprised, I am not alone at the moment here by the sighting. So this cat is right here in front of us, and I just want to see what he's thinking at the moment, because he went down there and he dragged the second kill and decided to just leave it there and come out very quickly, climbing this drainage here. Not much has been done on that kill at the moment. Only the baby has been taken out and a little bit of meat from the back. So how Hosana is eating from the back is what I saw Kalamba doing as well last week, when he was eating an impala from the back as well. So Hosana is doing the same, and yesterday Hosana did the same again. So I'm just going to pull forward now and see if we can have a good sighting. Jacqueline, the mosquitoes, when it comes to this kind of animals, I'm not too sure if they can be able to penetrate that probe here by this fur, but mosquitoes do bite these animals. The mosquitoes are very much clever because they are gifted. For them to get hold of the prey, or not necessarily the prey, but for them to get something, they pick up the scent, the carbon dioxide. That is what they follow. They follow the carbon dioxide, and they will be able to detect where you are. So it's difficult to hide away from the mosquitoes. So we're going to follow him again. He's now going towards the opposite direction. He's going back again. He does play in the dirt. Sometimes these animals, you will see them doing what is called dust bathing. That is when he will be rolling by the dust to try and get rid of the parasites. So these animals, sometimes they do get affected by the external, both internal and external parasites. Internal parasites include the tapeworms. External parasites, the ticks which bite these animals. So I can see that he is now out right here in front of us. So he just came out and went around. Now he is again on top of the drainage. So let's just see what his next plan is. I can see that he's up there, and the two dead nyalas are right at the bottom. So he doesn't want to go down there again. Now he's relaxed up here. So it's time now for him to groom again, because he was feeding on that baby nyala, and there's quite a lot of blood there, attracting the flies again, irritating him at the moment. So now let's go back to Brent, who is still searching for the lions.
Indeed we are searching for the lions, and all we found is a pair of stenbokkies. Oh, it looks like this is the spot to lie up for the day. Now, they are monogamous antelope, but like most animal species, kick in the face, not truly monogamous. So they will sneak on their spouses, on the peripheries of their territories with their neighbors, but for the most part they are monogamous. Now, the reason I've stopped in this very spot where this pair of steenbokkies is that I'm going to go for a walk. The ground is very hard, and I'm going to have a much better chance at seeing exactly where the nkuhumas went on foot than I would in the vehicle. So the last tracks I had were just over here, coming in from Chitwa and crossing in, but the ground is very, very hard here. So while driving, even driving very slowly, there's a chance I'm going to miss the tracks. So I'm going to go back to where the last tracks were, which was just opposite me here, and try to see where they cross the fire break, and hopefully get a direction. We've done a loop around this block. I can't find anything coming out, so there's a possibility that they are in here somewhere. Hopefully not too far. It's not a really big block. It's probably, I don't know, a couple of 100 hectares, maybe 150, 200 hectares. So I'm going to go take a stroll in there, unless this radio call has got something for me. Negative. I'm about to take a walk on last tracks. They head in between the fire break and Pump House Road. Okay, I hear a car. No other luck. Okay, so I'm going to set off and see if I can find these tracks. Before we do that, just have a sip of water. Just listening carefully, hoping for the snort of an Impala alarm call. Okay, so while I go take a walk, let's go back to Asana, who's on the move.
So Hosanna now is on the move, on his way back to the dead Nyalas. You can see there now. So I don't know which one he's going to attend to now, because he's just attending both of them. So let's see his decision. Yeah, it looks like he wants to go and eat where the hyena was eating, not the new one. So let me now quickly go down there so that we can see him much better. So at least this one where the hyena was eating is much more clear. So I'm very glad that this cat is not very relaxed. He is walking around here. He's giving us some actions here. So I can see that that carcass as well, which has been dragged by the hyena. Where that carcass is now is also not very clear to see. Look, now he's jumping. He's going now to attend the other carcass at the moment. So he doesn't know where to feed. He went there, now he's going to that other new carcass. It's going to be difficult now from where I am to see him. So you can see that we are only seeing the tail at the moment. He's lying down against the drainage line, so I'm going to have to move again here and see if we can improve the sighting. So now let's go to Jamie on bushwalk.
Just strolling along, to be honest. We accidentally almost walked into the Hasana sighting. We didn't realise exactly where Sydney was, so we've ducked away and we've moved off into a different direction. I'm just checking to see if there's any insects on all the new growth that's sprouting up. I don't see anything though. Not yet. But the green is coming. The green is definitely coming. Ah, speaking of green, Mark, you want to know if there are any green mumbas around this area. No, sadly not. We don't get green mumbas here. We'll find a mamba, well, we find mumbas, we'll get into that in a moment, but green ones, no. So to find a green mamba, or to see a green mamba, you need to go down sort of further south in South Africa and along the coastal regions, and you'll find a green mamba. Now, green mambas as a species have a notoriously, or as a family, have a reputation as being very aggressive snakes. Green mambas, quite a lot less so. Very common to encounter them if you live in Durban or around those sorts of areas. It's very common to encounter them hanging out in the trees, very relaxed, very calm. Now we get the slightly angrier cousin of the green mamba, which is of course the black mamba, and probably drop for drop, not the most venomous, but certainly the most dangerous of snakes. So the most venomous snake is the boomslang. 2 tablespoons, I can't remember the facts now. A teaspoon of boomslang venom, I think, is capable of killing 100 people, or something like that. I mean, it is really, really potent venom. Where the mamba is different is that it is a slightly more aggressive snake. It really takes quite a lot of provocation for a boomslang to bite someone. They're also quite primitive snakes, and their fangs sit in the back part of their jaw and are backwards facing. So to bite, they really need to grab on, and they need to hold on, and they kind of need to chew in order to release their venom. So the chances of that happening are very slim. So the boomslang is the most venomous. Then you get the black mamba, which is the most dangerous because of the speed with which its venom kills. So boomslang's venom is hematoxic. It causes a lack of clotting and bleeding, but that can take up to 2 days for those symptoms to manifest themselves. So you've got plenty of time to get to a hospital and be treated if you are unlucky enough to be bitten. A black mamba, which can be quite an aggressive snake, and it's not because they're aggressive by nature, it's because they're frightened of people, and because they've got such potent venom, their response is to fight rather than veer towards running away. 90% of the time they'll run away, but if you are bitten by a black mamba, the symptoms manifest very, very quickly, and very, very much so. So they are neurotoxic, so you stop breathing. Your respiratory rate slows down, your organs go into paralysis and often multiple organ failure, and you've got very limited amount of time to get to a hospital. So a mamba bite is treated incredibly seriously. But still, they're not considered to be the most dangerous snake. The most dangerous snake is a puff adder. Not because it's going to kill you straight away, but because they are the most common snake. They are a widely found species, very wide distribution. They're almost everywhere. And they have cytotoxic venom, which causes the destruction of cells. It becomes infected, it becomes very, very swollen, and often people lose fingers or hands if they're bitten by a puff adder. Wait, I'm not finished. Megs is hitting me with another question. I'm not done yet. The thing about puff adders is that they're quite sedentary. They're quite immobile. So a black mamba will move away. A boomslang will, if you spot it, will blink at you and then move away. But a puff adder stays still. And that's the reason why they're responsible for the most snake bites out here. Big, big, big fangs that sink in and then cause horrible cytotoxic response. I'm going the wrong way. Rexon's gone this way. I'm heading that way. My mistake. Right, now, Megan, you can ask me the next question. Now, Sidharp, you're wondering what we do. Oh, there's more chimneys. Should we look at chimneys so we stop walking while we're talking about this? I'm wondering about a helpline or, some sort of emergency response. Don't they look like fairy tale chimneys? Speaking of distressing subjects, yes, we are registered to emergency service providers that specialize in bush injuries. So yes, there is a helpline. And they will immediately, once called, they will just describe what treatment is needed, they'll rush in and then they'll rush you to hospital. So yes, we are. What was the other thing? Helpline, snake bites. What was I going to say? I got distracted by chimneys. Snake bites. Oh, the most important thing in a situation where there is a snake bite is to stay calm. Very difficult to do. Once you've been bitten by a snake, obviously the first thing that happens is your heart starts beating really fast, which spreads the venom much, much faster. So immediately pressure on the injury, and a lot of people will have sort of prescribed tourniquets for a bite like that. It's actually very, very dangerous to do so. So what you do is you put pressure on it, you bandage it. Let's say I got bitten here. You bandage down the limb, unless you've been bitten on the chest or something, in which case it's quite serious. Bandage down the limb, tight, 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 and then back up the limb, tight, 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 but not a tourniquet, because you can actually do more damage with one of those than you imagine. Antivenom? No, we do not keep antivenom here. The reason being, the use of antivenom actually is more likely to kill you than the snake venom. It is made from horses, it's extracted from horse antibodies, and it causes almost invariably anaphylactic shock. So people are very, very cautious with the use of antivenom. It does save lives, but it must be administered by a trained medical professional in a hospital. Even paramedics won't administer it to you because it can kill you faster than the venom can. So antivenom is a tricky one, and it would be illegal for us to keep it here because we could actually kill someone unintentionally. So no, we don't keep antivenom. It is the most important thing, especially with neurotoxic venom. Remember, venom is it's a protein, so it breaks down naturally, and most of the time it's effective to just keep that person alive under hospital treatment, artificially keeping their lungs and their heart going, rather than risking the injection of antivenom. Vine snakes and worm slugs are a different story, and they have different types of antivenom, which is very, very rare. There's not that many vials of antivenom for those snakes knocking about, and that essentially is to help counteract the venom so that you can clot, because obviously treating you for a hemotoxic response, for bleeding out, internal bleeding, there's rectal bleeding, your intestines start to break down, bleeding into lungs. Those are very difficult things to treat, and in that case antivenom might just be the way to go. Scary, but so unlikely. Your chances of being injured in the city are so much higher than being bitten by a snake out here. Okay, fair. Milkbong's wanting to know if I've ever been bitten by a snake. Nope. I've never been bitten. I once picked up a centipede eater many years ago, when I shouldn't have been playing with snakes, and I did. So I got bitten by a centipede eater. Totally harmless to human beings. Black-headed centipede eater. They've got a little bit of venom, but it's nothing serious. But anything major? No, I've never been bitten by a snake. I don't even count the centipede eater. It's not my proudest moment. Now, Sammy Jane wants to know how quick the trip to the hospital is. You can potentially be flown out. A lot of the time, though, those choppers are busy, in which case it would be a very short journey. The closest hospital is Tinswalu, which is probably about an hour or so. If you want to get to a private clinic, which is Zanine or to Nelspruit, probably an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. But obviously you're going to be driving quite far. Well, you're not going to be driving if you've been bitten, but whoever's driving you will be driving quite quickly. Fortunately, the police in this area are aware that these sorts of things happen, so they'll even escort you if you're caught speeding along the road for that reason. The trick is just to treat it symptomatically. And again, chances are so slim. So slim. But what you'll find with a lot of people, if they have kids, because kids of course get into everything, they go into dark corners and holes where snakes like to live, you'll find a lot of people here keep dogs. because dogs are so much more alert to that sort of thing. That, and they love dogs. Cheryl, the breakdown of the venom actually happens quite quickly. Certain species of snakes, it's broken down in less than 24 hours. Something like a mamba, it'll take 2 to 4 days, depending upon the size of the person, their immune response. There are obviously potential for complications. So you could have some secondary side effects, but it's rare. If you're in a hospital, you're probably going to be okay. Obviously, the response needs to be that much quicker for kids, older people, and smaller people. So a bite to me versus Brent would have that much more time to respond to that sort of thing. It's just the way the body works. It's smaller. Venom travels faster. Right, as much fun as this uphill walk has been while talking, let's go across to Sydney, see if he's had any luck finding Hosanna.
Hosanna is now hiding in the drainage, having the second dead Nyala. At the moment, I'm trying by all means to get a space here so that we can see him, because it's quite a bit difficult to get to where he is. But I will see. Maybe he's going to drag that kill out at the moment. So I don't have a visual at all. So he's somewhere there. So the oldest leopard I have seen here is called Tingana. So Tingana, but it's not Tingana, and another one called Tandy. They were born more or less the same time, same year. So Tingana is the one I am seeing the most, who is very old. Yes, I have seen the oldest leopards before, but not sure in terms of their age. By looking at them, I could see that these leopards are very much old. So now he is not disturbed by anything. So he is now having the kill or the dead Nyala against this drainage line. It's quite very steep here by the drainage line. So you can see that this drainage line is very steep. I can say it's just about maybe 10 meters on the ground from the top. So now let's go back to Brand and hear some updates.
The only place we didn't check, this tiny piece of road, is where they crossed. Oh, you blooming lions. So I've been walking on their tracks, and they've been chasing stuff. There's lots of running tracks, and a track of a single one here and a track of a single one there. But they have bamboozled me slightly, but now I feel like we're on the right track. Now, this is actually a very clear track for the moment, and they've headed straight down onto this little path. So they could have crossed the little the Moanini a bit earlier this morning or last night. So we've been looking a little bit too far to the west. But anyway, we're going to keep looking. I want to find them today to see if they caught something last night, because if they haven't, I'm going to be putting my patient pants on again this evening and sitting with the lions, because it pays off. I mean, when was it? The first ever buffalo kill we got, I spent, it was close on 20 something hours, over 20 hours with lions that week. I watched them miss 7 times, and number 8 is when they caught the buffalo. Okay, so some of them went down there, some of them are still here. Oh, this road is just so hard. And they quite like this little thick section here where there's no road. make sure they haven't come this way. If they have carried on that way, I'm going to go around to Euphorbia to make sure they haven't gone further east. And then, if nothing, I might go try pull a line by its tail in this thick riverine stuff. They might be sleeping in there. It's getting warmer now, so they're less likely to be moving, which of course is disappointing from a viewing point of view, but from a finding point of view, it makes life a little bit easier. The road is just so hard in this area. Oh, hang on. Last station, go again. Copy, thanks. Yeah, Goma trucks head off Pump House into the Shkova between Euphorbia and Lion Tree, but general direction east. I might be coming that way. I'm still following up. So there's a herd of buffalo on that ridge, and it sounds like when the lion tracks are heading in that area, maybe they heard buffalo and that's where they're off to. So I'm gonna try track a little bit faster, although it's always a risk on this hard soil. Oh, White Lady Ewan would like to know, what is my worst injury in the bush? Well, I'd pretty much say being thrown into a tree by an elephant. It doesn't get much worse than that. And my hip was dislocated, and then I had to get two people to push my hip back in and then walk on a stick basically as a crutch for about 6.5 kilometers till I could get to a place where a chopper could land and pick me up. I'd say, you don't, whoa, look at the size of that, oh, don't go down, don't go down. Oh, he's gone down. It was that massive giant plated lizard coming out of the hole in the road, but he's gone under now. But I would say you don't get pretty much worse injuries than that. Any worse injury than that, you're dead. What else? Oh, torn rotator cuff in my shoulder from high lift jacks. Lots of holes from thorns and trees and cuts. But I would have to say, yes, being tossed a good 5 or 6 meters into a tree by an elephant is definitely the worst injury I've had in the bush. Shame it wasn't her fault. It was the oil company helicopter that scared her senseless and sent her charging through the Central African rainforests in a panic, and just happened to be in the area where we were. Unlucky, that's what it was. Yeah, injuries, but I'm going to concentrate on finding these lions now. Let's see what Jamie's up to on foot.
We are giving Trishala lessons about where to drive and where not to drive. As Brent, I'm sure, has expanded upon, because it's one of his favorite topics, apart from being thrown into a tree by an elephant, your greatest chance of injury out here is due to the vehicle. Falling off a high lift jack, driving into a hole, anything like that. That's the most likely way in which you're going to be injured. I have very, very few dramatic injuries to tell you. I mean, I stubbed my toe once, and I walked into a thorn once, and yeah, I've actually had, honestly, very few nasty injuries, a few bruises and cuts and stuff, but that's nothing serious. I've been fortunate enough not to be injured. One might think about the way in which girls do things as opposed to boys out here, especially because it's quite a macho job that actually isn't all that macho in reality, but is treated as such, and the ways in which one might injure oneself there. Not that I'm saying that Brent's elephant injury was a macho injury. Moving on entirely. This area is what I've been teaching Trishala about. We've all learnt the hard way. I've done it. Sydney did it recently. Where not to drive if you're driving off-road. Because what we've got here, is an aardvark series of tunnels, and even walking here is a little bit of a risk. Now, we're not going to walk in front of that tunnel because although it is an aardvark burrow, it could potentially be inhabited by warthogs. And warthogs, of course, can come accelerating out of their burrows at what feels like somewhere around about 1,000 meters per second. And they can do you some serious injury. I don't see any fresh tracks going in here. It looks like this network has largely collapsed. It's so easy to see an area like this. Not all of them are this easy to spot, but there's indentations in the ground. Even if you don't see these big piles of sand, indentations in the ground, which tell you immediately, ow, I'm injured. I'm injured. Okay, no, I'm fine. Workman's compensation. I'm going to sue for irreparable damage to my leg. So, even if you can't see the entrance tunnels, this is where you want to avoid. If I were to park a car over this particular spot, chances are we'd sink into the ground. Now, this, I think, is abandoned. I don't think it's occupied at the moment. If it's not an aardvark living here, warthog live in these burrows, or in these tunnels, as do bush pig. Now, I don't think we've ever put a bush pig on our live safaris before. They're quite rare out here, but they are around. It is a very large, very nocturnal boar. So it's a big wild boar, essentially. And we hardly ever see them. Aiden, who is 7 years old, would like to see them. Aiden, I'm sure we will all do our utmost to show you a bush pig. Chances are we're going to struggle to find them. We haven't found them yet, but you never know. Maybe, Aiden, because you've wished to see one, perhaps we might just get lucky. I've had a few scary moments on foot with tunnels like this, with bush pigs exploding out. Quickest way to see if they're occupied is obviously to check the entrance tunnels. There's no spider webs around this one, but there's also no tracks. There's no flies. I don't think anybody's home. Now, you could so easily drive on this. Linda, you could easily see an aardvark, but it won't be me showing you one. Because I have an aardvark, I don't know what it is, some sort of a curse when it comes to aardvark. It's the one animal I've never seen. Seen plenty of pangolin. I've seen aardwolf for plenty. I have lived and worked on a reserve famous for its aardvark sightings. I have been on a scientific aardvark capture to capture an aardvark and tag it for research purposes. I have never seen one. It was a very unsuccessful capture. The next night I didn't go and they caught 5. I've either been looking after someone in the back of a vehicle and someone's gone, oh, aardvark, and then it's been gone, or I've been asleep, or I don't know what it is. I have some sort of it's my bugbear animal. I've seen dead ones, which doesn't really count. Maybe I'll just come and sit here, although this is not a good place to sit because it's not occupied. I'll just come and sit here one night. I've even been with Tingana, back in the stage where he loved to sit outside the entrances to burrows. You okay there, Dave? You know, another workman injury. Grazed shin bone. Tragic. Oof. Yeah. This is not a place you want to drive. Patrick would like to know which species would be the greatest terraformers of the bush. Would it be elephants or aardvark? Or as James pronounces it very correctly, aardvark. I don't know, it just amused me the way he said it the other day. The answer to that is probably elephants, because although aardvark do play a big role in the tunnels that they produce within or digging up the surface of the soil, they are not nearly as numerous as elephants. So another reason why I've seen plenty of elephants but not many aardvark. I think that pound for pound, the elephants are going to have a bigger impact by, for example, their feeding habits, pulling out trees. Now, elephants play a very important role, and that affects the soil just as much as it does the vegetation, because, of course, soil and vegetation are connected. In the way that they've evolved with this area, they control the balance between the grass layer and the tree layer. As soon as you don't have enough elephants, you get too many trees, you get bush encroachment. As soon as you have too many elephants, all of a sudden there's no trees at all, and the grass layer becomes affected because there's not as much competition for soil resource. Once you start taking away grass layers, once you start interfering with the tree balance, then you get an effect that happens through erosion, through water, through whatever particular manner on the soil. And I would say that elephants would have a greater impact just purely by I mean, it's a much slower process than the quick movement of an aardvark digging out a tunnel, but they have a much greater impact over time because there's more of them, and they're bigger. One aardvark can make a few tunnels, 15,000 elephants can shape a landscape. It really just depends upon which animal you're talking about. No, that's not what I'm trying to say. It's time. It's the time period that you're talking about. Humans also play an enormous role. Areas that were once farmed, overgrazed, undergrazed, not looked after, especially in areas where there's overgrazing, you get massive amounts of bush encroachment because the grass layer has been disturbed. Grass is meant to be grazed, but not overgrazed. So once you get that disturbance, then you get hardy species like, for example, sicklebush encroaching in an area, or monkey orange, or certain species of acacia or guaris. You've upset the balance. So humans, I suppose, would probably be much higher on that list than aardvark or elephants. On we go. Well done, Brent. Bravo, bravo. He's managed it. He has done the impossible. He's found the lions.
Yes, we have managed to catch up with the Nkuhuma Pride, spotted by Batman on his birthday, trying to take all the credit, but as I told him, he wouldn't be able to spot them if my eyes weren't looking at the tracks on the ground. But anyway, we'll let him have this one, maybe just because it's his birthday, and otherwise he might get grumpy. We don't want a grumpy Batman, do we? Hey Batman, tuku Batman, hello Batman, cuckoo. So yes, we're with some of the ladies of the Nkuhuma Pride, the Mangen males, actually behind us. And they were in the process of stalking kudu, but they were spotted and the barks rang out loud. Zephyr says, way to go, Batman. Dash says, does that mean Brent is Robin today? Maybe, or maybe I'm Superman, where I can just flick Batman away with my baby finger. Just joking, of course. So it doesn't look like they were successful last night, so they are very hungry. So again, I'm going to get my patience pants on this afternoon, and we will spend it with the Nkuhuma Pride. They still might move a little bit, because it is quite cool. There's a nice cool breeze. There's water not too far away, but I'm pretty sure they had a drink at Chitwa last night. Mrs. Langwing, we can't get a view of the Mangen males from where we are. We are in a slightly bad signal area, so we can't really move around. It's nice to have them back after their holiday in the West. Sally would like to know whether we've ever used Rhodesian Ridgebacks, the dogs, to track lion prides. Nope, we haven't. And it takes quite a lot of training to get a Ridgeback into proper lion tracking mode. Now, Ridgebacks were used as lion hunting dogs in the past. So generally they were put on wounded lions or blood trails to bay the lion. So to keep the lion in one place for a hunter to get a chance to shoot it. They weren't really used as tracking dogs. Now, if you wanted to train a dog to track a lion, one of the gun dogs would probably be far more effective. Vinarama, a GSP, pointers, setters would all be probably far more effective at scent trailing lions. Ridgebacks were used to bay them and keep them in one place. I think you can still see, I think they might move a little bit. As I said, we can't really move from the position we're in at the moment. I might go see if we can get signal close to the Torchwood waterhole, because I think that's where the Mangeni males are going. They might be going for a drink. As I said, well, wait till we send you off to someone else, because we will probably lose signal if we move from our current spot. Okay, well, we're going to leave the main portion of the Nkomas for now and send you back to Hosanna and Sydney.
Hosanna is now up and running. He's out. He left the area where those nyalas are died. At the moment, he's on top of another termite mound, scanning his territory, telling himself, one day I'm going to be the king here in this territory. You can see he's right on top. So I think the carcass that he was eating, the second carcass, he's not interested too much to feed there. Yeah, but the stomach, it looked full already. Maybe now he's thinking about to go to the Galago pen, which is just about less than a kilometer away from where we are. But when he got here, he was looking as if there is something which is attracting him. So the fact that the stomach is full does not mean we cannot see any action from now on. Cats are so very much unpredictable. So look at that, the pose there. This is a very nice, clear shot. Thank you very much, Senzo. This is what we see normally on the ground. So you can see how round those toes are. So if you look at the hyena's toes, they are like banana shape. These ones for the leopards, they are round. And you can even see this, the three lobes at the back pad. So this is kind of a digitigrade track. The digitigrade track is a track where the animals start from the toes when stepping on the ground. You can see this paw looks very much smooth. So these animals can easily approach animals very close because their paws are very nice, well designed and smooth. So they can contain noise. So if you look at this track nicely, it's unbelievable that this animal has got the claws there. So if you just look at the track, you might even think, no, this is how the foot structure looks like. But these weapons here, he can bring out when he wants to. He's got the claws that are in there. He brings them when wanting to use them, in and out, just like that. So he's got a sheath in there where those claws are going in. So you can see that the mouth is open at the moment. He looks tired. So maybe all night long he was battling with those owls, and now it's time for him to relax. He must have to now at least save energy. He must start now to build energy so that late afternoon he can be active. Dance safari. Inbreeding is not a problem at the moment in the area when it comes to this leopard. Yeah, inbreeding is something which can cause a problem when it comes to some of the animal species. So the inbreeding is about the closely related animals mating together, which then weakens the gene. These animals, they die. It's very difficult for those kind of babies who are as a result of inbreeding to survive in the environment. So inbreeding is something which causes the disappearance of the gene, and it can deplete the species as well. So it can be a very dangerous threat. So it reduces the heterozygosity. So I can hear some of the birds are calling now at the moment. So maybe there might be any other, maybe hyenas are coming back now. Maybe the hyena we saw earlier is coming back with the other clan members to eat. I can hear birds are making some noise at the moment. So it's good that Tingana, who is the territorial holder here in the area, is also mating with some of the females from very far. So that is something which is helping a lot. Competition amongst the males, Ukumuri and Fokazi, it helps in order to fix the inbreeding related problems when these species are mating interchangeably. So you can see that now his mood is not on anything. All he wants to do is to relax. I can see the eyes are starting to close now. So he might find a place to rest for the day anytime soon. I haven't seen his tracks by the Galago Pen yesterday and this morning. Maybe he will be going to those areas anytime soon. But for now, let's head back to the guided walk.
The guided walks indeed, which have essentially been largely quite a bit of chatter this morning, because we haven't really focused all that much on racing to find big animals. In fact, we've probably done exactly the opposite, and we've just been enjoying a stroll through the bush, looking for little things. I remembered the name of the plant. Those of you who know me well would have picked up on it. I stopped at a plant and then went, I can't remember the name, and moved on. It was a bushman's grape that I'd stopped at, and because I haven't been back on Djuma during summer in a while, the name wasn't on the tip of my tongue. And I even saw the fruits and I couldn't think about what it was called. There's actually a fruit here. Quite cool. You can actually see why it's called a bushman's grape. Now the nice thing about this particular plant is apparently it has a very potent antihistamine effect. So if you find yourself with a very nasty itch on your skin, the theory goes that you crush up the leaves and you put it on your skin. I tested that. I tested the various antihistamine plants long ago, because of course the bark of a marula tree, the inner cambium layer, is also said to have a wonderful antihistamine effect. So we tried it. I had different tick bites on my skin, and I tried it with bushman's grape. I tried it with cambium from a marula, and I tried something else as well. I think it was just plain old grass. And I put all three on in a very sort of scientific way. I had a fourth bite as a control. And fascinatingly, you'll never guess which one was the best. None of them worked at all. Nothing worked. Nothing works on those tick bites. Absolutely nothing. It is impossible. I'm looking to see if there's any mantids or anything like that that are starting to utilize the Bushman's grape. I'm not seeing anything. So we might have life returning. It's taking a little while for everything to catch up with everything else. What's also fascinating that I've been looking at while we've been walking is the fact that some marulas, the big marulas, you hardly ever see little marulas. They're so hard to find, baby marulas. But I've been looking at certain marula trees, and some, like the ones at the back, can you see them there, Dave? Have got green leaves. Some have already started to grow their leaves back, yet others haven't even started to think about it. And there's a very easy explanation as to why that would be. Very quick, very easy explanation. Throughout this entire area, on Djuma and throughout the Lowveld, there are seams of water. Sounds a bit odd to phrase it like that, but they're seep lines. So a seep line is where there's rock, sort of at a certain level underneath the soil, and the water can't obviously flow through the rock, so it flows through the soil up top, meaning that it's closer to the surface than in other areas. That's why what you'll notice, particularly at this time of year, is almost a straight line of green trees. Now, we haven't got the best view here because the combretums have largely restricted us, but there is actually a line of green all the way down towards the river system that fills up the Boyatela Dam, or the Djuma Dam. So you can actually see where the seep lines are at this time of year just by looking at the leaves and the greenness of the trees, because they've got easier access to water than, say, these poor trees, which actually have nothing. These poor trees have got absolutely nothing to draw from. Scott, the big protected trees, Tambuti, leadwood, jackalberry, mahogany. So a lot of the trees that you find around the river, as well as marula trees. Marula trees are also protected. You can't go and cut down a marula tree unless an elephant has pushed it into your driveway. Now those trees, along with certain other species, ivory, for example, if you look at where they grow, they're all big trees that grow along river systems. And the reason that they become protected is because they have really nice wood. A jackalberry, for example, is also known as an African ebony. So, like ebony wood, it is dark, it is beautiful, it's a rich, rich color. And leadwood, for example, is one of the hardest woods that we find out here. We spoke about it. 1 meter cube, also known as 1 cubic meter, of leadwood weighs a ton. It is very, very dense wood, which made it perfect back in the day for building furniture, but more importantly than furniture, railway sleepers. So around this area, less so where we are, but a bit further to the sort of the west, were a whole load of mines, mica mines, and at one point gold mines. So the Harmony Gold, the British Harmony Company, came in, and especially after the Second World War, British officers were given farms as part of their sort of retirement from the army, and some of them were given farms in that area. But one of the big things they were looking for was gold, and they were sadly disappointed because there was no gold. Really, there was very, very little gold in this area. Pilgrim's Rest side, yes, but again, not enough to really create a city in the way that Johannesburg was created. Pilgrim's Rest is now an almost dead town. It's actually quite sad. My grandfather was in jail in Pilgrim's Rest many, many years ago. It was one of his favorite stories to tell me. He picked up a piece of gold by mistake and was found with it in his pocket and taken to the jail at Pilgrim's Rest. I've been to the jail. It's one room in a house, a cottage, one of those old-fashioned cottages. He said it was the best meal he'd eaten in weeks. He spent a lot of time searching for Paul Kruger's millions as well, the famous Paul Kruger gold. Paul Kruger, of course, was in theory, the president of South Africa. I don't know if we would necessarily call him that, during the Boer War. And during his escape from the British, he was at one point in a town called Leitsdorp, just down the road from where I used to work, that is now a completely dead city, that at one point used to be considered by certain people to be the capital of South Africa. Anyway, long story short, he had all this gold, that had been gathered to fund the Boer war efforts, and when he realized that there was a chance they were going to lose, he apparently hid it all. Most likely he spent it all on the war efforts, but it was apparently hidden in the hills or a cave somewhere in the Sabi region. My grandfather spent a considerable period of his life searching for Paul Kruger's millions. Sadly, he never found them. My life might be very different. Could be sitting on a yacht, Dave. I could be sitting like a yacht, living like the Prince of Djuma himself.
So I can see that Hosana might experience another challenge. You can see his focus is somewhere else. Look at his binocular vision. He is now looking at the big birds arriving, circling up by the sky. The vultures are now landing in the area. I can see them here. After this good sighting of Hosana, I have to go back. I'm going to go back to where I left the carcasses so that we can see what's happening with the vultures. You can see now that he might go back there because competition is very high at the moment. So let's see if he's going back to where the vultures are or he's going somewhere else. Look at that. You can see those vultures there now. So he's now making his way back. So I'm just waiting to see so that we can follow him and see what he's going to do there. But I can see he is heading towards that direction. Without any waste of time, let me carry on. So I don't want to miss any action there. So yesterday it was the owls, and now he is going to mingle with the vultures. So he's still calculating. So now let's go back to Brent and hear about the updates on lions.
Well, unfortunately, we've had to leave the lions. They're all not doing much, so we're going to head back. We've headed back onto Djuma. We're going to see what we can find, and I think we might head off to the west a little bit, or maybe check around this area around Drakensberg for Tandi. I didn't see any tracks coming back from the south, but that road's very busy. Or maybe some nice late morning ellies. Okay. Barbara is wondering how many Nkuhumas were killed when the lion takeover happened. Well, none have been killed that I know of during this current takeover, but during the Birmingham Boys, was it the Birmingham Boys? Yes, the Birmingham Boy takeover. If I remember correctly, 3 adult lionesses were killed and 1 sub-adult female. So yes, we actually went and filmed one of the lionesses after she'd been killed on Torchwood at Second Rock. But yes, if I remember correctly, that is how many were killed. Where to go next? Let's go down Drakensberg. Let's go see. Tandi does like this area, and if she has moved from where we last tracked across the main road, it should be into this area. Or maybe little Kalamba is hanging about, hiding somewhere around here. Okay, and if we don't find any cat tracks, we could always go down to the Moati and do some birding. Try find Batman's Robin. Brendan is wondering, why would they kill the females? Brendan, basically the females will try and defend their sub-adults or their cubs. And also what happens is, particularly during male line takeovers, when they're busy fighting with other males, the testosterone levels are very high. So what will be tolerated once by a pride male, once it's sort of calmed down, a sort of growl, a snarl, a snap, can set off those younger males, that they just get into that sort of high aggression, and they can actually, and they will kill females during that pride takeover. It doesn't happen every pride takeover, but it can happen. And the Birmingham boys seem to be particularly, well, not particularly bad at it, but because the Mapoko were far bigger killers than the Birmingham boys. Now, there's one that most of you will know is Mr. T. However, when I worked down south, we used to call him Satan or Satan, and it was the trackers' nickname for him. So the oldest of the Mapoko males was mating with an Ottawa 2 and 6 lioness, and the other boys came in, and led by Mr. T, chased off the oldest one, killed the lioness, mated with her corpse, and then ate her completely. So after that, all the trackers decided he was Satan. But as I say, that's quite unusual. I've only ever heard about it and seen it once. Now, we love to give animals, or anthropomorphize animals, whether they are not human beings. They don't think like us. They don't act like us. For example, a male lion that's been in a big fight and is quite badly injured will feel nothing about eating his own cubs to survive, because he, in his sort of way, he can, if he recovers, he can breed with the female and make more cubs later. And even lionesses in bad condition have been recorded eating their own cubs. Okay, we're gonna have a quick look around this little river system of Mamba. I haven't checked yet for a couple of days. Maybe we'll have some luck. In the meantime, let's go back to our little chief, who's still snoozing merrily.
So it looks like now Hosanna is tired of the morning activities. He's just now relaxed. You can see now he is leaning against one of the branches there, and where he is a better spot for him to see the vultures landing where these two nyalas are died. So now I think he's not going to feed anymore. Look at how he's breathing. This cat is so funny. Look at how he's using that as a pillow. Romet, I haven't seen a leopard killing a vulture before, but interaction between the two, I have seen it on several occasions. Sometimes when competition is too high, these animals do kill their competitors. Not only specifically the vultures, but also other competitors such as the hyenas. So that's why also other predators such as lions and leopards don't really get along because of competition. Look at how this cat is sleeping. This is lovely. He is always ready for an action. Ashley, that is true indeed. He's got a very big stick mustache. You can see the eyes are closed completely. So he's very much relaxed. So these cats, when sleeping like this, they are always ready for an action. But I don't think where he is, if anything comes much closer, he's going to take any action, because those stick mustaches and the pillow is going to block his access there to come out. Can see that long mustache looks like the whiskers for the fish, catfish. So he's got the catfish mustache. So the vultures just decided to disappear. All those vultures we saw earlier on, none of them is still around here. Maybe they will come back for landing later on. The vultures are the ones who brought him to come and lie down here, as he was on the other side and was looking very much concerned about their presence in the area. So he wants to protect a free male. He did not lose any efforts to kill any of those two nyalas, but now he wants to take over and protect a free male. So it is unusual for this cat to be having a kill, and Tingana don't come there to attend to the kill as well. This is unusual. Normally, when there's a kill, we know Tingana is going to come. If it's, let's see, maybe there's something he has just spotted now. See, leopards, they normally do what I normally refer as a fake sleep. Look at this cat now. He was sleeping as if he was completely in a deep sleep, but now look, his focus is right on something. So maybe there is something he's spotting going down towards where those animals are, the dead carcasses are. And you can see that he's looking at something. Look, you can see maybe now he is thinking about to go and protect it. He saw something probably. So you can see that this cat is too clever. Where he was lying down, his main focus was by that side of the kill. So let's see who is coming down there. I always don't want to miss any action. I'm going there. So I'm not alone here at this sighting. I'm going there. So I can see now he is high up looking at he's right high up. Oh, it's the vultures who are landing here. He's concerned about the vultures. Or maybe there's also other animals who are there to compete with him. So I just saw one vulture, but I can't see where that vulture is at the moment. So I think his concentration is going to lead us to... what he is trying to challenge at the moment. So I can see that he's now going back. He's going back to the donga at the moment. You can see he's right on the edge, so he might go down there at any time. Oh, there's a vulture there. Can you see that vulture, Senzo? Right there, there's a vulture right there, yeah. So let me just pull forward a little bit so that we can improve the sighting. It's very steep-sided here where I am. So he's right here. So you can see that he is now aiming down to where the carcass is. At the same time, he is attending to the vulture as his competitor at the moment. So look at that. That looks like the lappet-faced vulture. This is quite a beautiful vulture. Look at that. So that vulture just flew now. Is up right there. And at the bottom here, I can see that he is relieved at the moment. You can see him going down there. It's very much steep-sided, but this cat can be able to create a balance to go down there. He is right on the edge. It's a very much difficult place to climb, but this cat, he came up there and he's going down there. Oh, now he's just lying down on the edge.
Where's the carcass?
So the carcass is right down here. So it's looking at the carcass at the moment. I can't see it from here where I am, but I can see there's two carcasses. There's one here where he's going, you will see, and another one is somewhere there. So there is going deep now. So now I am going to go around and see if we can see him from the other side much better, because now the sighting got disappeared. It's highly impossible for us to see him again from where I am. So now let's go to Brand, who is just driving.
Yes, we are just bumbling about. Maybe we'll go have a look at Treehouse Waterhole. Maybe Mr. Tingana will be there. They're flying too fast. There's a fight going on, Craig. Where they gone? There's a Chagra war. There you go. Oof. No, 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 no. I'm not sure whether it was flirting or fighting. Maybe flirting. Oh no, there's another one. There's definitely a bit of a territorial battle going on between the black-crowned chagras at the moment. And now they seem to have stopped, because we have stopped to look at them. They were chasing each other around at high speed. Okay. Now that they've stopped chasing each other around, let's keep going. Some Ellie tracks here. Looks like some not that fresh feeding sign, maybe last night. They are heading towards Treehouse Waterhole. Maybe they decided to stick around the drainage. I wouldn't mind some late morning elephants. Be very, very pleasant. All going that way. And it has been actually a very pleasant morning, not too hot, not too cold. Lots of cats around. Now this afternoon, the Mara will be joining us again. I'm just trying to see if we can spot these ellies somewhere up ahead, but as I say, I think we're a little bit slow behind them. I think it was last night that they walked up here. Well, let's scoot on to Treehouse Dam. Okay, well, I scoot on to Treehouse Dam. Let's send you across to Jamie, who's standing in a dry dam.
I am standing in the dry dam, but I feel as though we've done this topic to death. We're not going to talk about the dry season anymore. I'm going to tell you some ghost stories, because that's what's been keeping us entertained while we've been strolling home. So we were talking about my grandfather and his search for the Paul Kruger gold. Rex has been telling me that there are pots of gold all on the other side of the sand, further to the south and to the west, that are cursed. So although those millions are still there, he says that people that go and search for them end up dying in various gruesome ways. It's amazing how similar these tales are throughout the various cultures. Now, I, of course, am the greatest cynic in the world, and I hear tales of ghostly horses riding, charging forward to stop the gold from being stolen, and I think, But then I thought back to an experience I had. I spoke about the mines and the sleepers and so on at a mica mine on a reserve that I used to work on, right in the bottom corner where no one ever went. And I thought to myself it was strange that no one ever went there. So I thought for my very first Trails Guide walk, my very first lead walk, I was going to go there. It was boiling hot, and we huffed and we puffed our way all the way up to the top. And everyone went dead quiet. It took a while to filter in, but everyone went dead quiet. There were all these old tunnels and carts and sleepers, and no one spoke. No one said anything really, and it got colder and colder, even though it was a boiling hot day. And I realized what had been disturbing me so much is that not a single bird was singing. The bushveld is a quiet place, but there's always surface level noise. There's always a lapwing making a sound, or a goose, or something calling. Not a bird made a sound. And then we weren't talking to each other, we were just exploring, walking around, and then one of the guests said to me, "Can we leave, please? I've got the absolute creeps." Spoke to some of the other guides who'd been in that area for much longer, and they told me that they never go there because it's haunted. So I don't know. I'm a great cynic, but maybe I don't know everything there is to know. Shock and horror. Alrighty. Everyone's saying apparently they'll take the chance for the gold. Speak to Rexon first. Let's go across to Sydney, who's had a marvellous morning spent with the Little Prince. Let's see how he feels about it.
It has been a lovely morning with Hosanna and the hyenas, and now with the vultures. I really enjoyed the sighting today since yesterday when the owls were chasing him. It was so funny and very much interesting. So I hope this afternoon I will find him again at the same spot. So maybe when I come back, those owls will be back here. So I might maybe see him all the way from the Galago Pen, because that is where I'm sure he's going to go and drink. So let's hope he doesn't get challenged by the hyena, because that hyena might come back with the rest of the clan to try and take everything which is left at the moment. And thank you very, very much for all your questions and comments. I hope we are all going to meet again this afternoon. And this afternoon, I'm just going to carry on from previous. I will be looking for Hosanna.